Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at nutrition, ergogenics, and supplements in sports and performance nutrition. Now, I'm really interested to kind of unpack this whole world of substances and strategies. What are we really talking about when we say something can boost athletic performance?
Yeah, well, there's so much buzz around these products that claim to, give athletes an edge.
Yeah.
But to really understand them, I think it's helpful to just start with the term itself.
Okay.
Ergogenic, break it down, ergo meaning work and genic meaning to generate.
Right.
So anything that can enhance your capacity for work or, in this case, athletic performance can be considered an ergogenic aid.
So are we talking about, like, when I think back to, like, those specialized swimsuits that were banned from the Olympics a while back?
Exactly.
Those would be considered ergogenic aids, right?
You got it. Those are a perfect example of what we call biomechanical aids. And those suits were designed to reduce drag and improve hydrodynamics, giving swimmers like a significant advantage.
Right.
But it's not just, what we wear.
Oh, okay.
There are actually 5 main categories of ergogenic aids.
5. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so beyond what we just talked about, the nutritional and the biomechanical, we also have that are called physiological aids.
Okay.
So think of things like altitude training, where athletes train in high-altitude environments to stimulate red blood cell production, which can boost endurance when they return to, lower altitudes.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Now, what about the mental game? Does that play into ergogenic aids at all?
You're exactly right. The psychological aspects are super important. Psychological aids are another category.
Okay.
And, a good example is visualization techniques that can help athletes mentally rehearse their performance, improve focus, reduce anxiety, all of which can lead to better results.
Oh, interesting.
And finally, we have pharmacological aids, which can include substances like hormones or stimulants.
Okay, wow. So that covers a lot of ground. But since we're focusing on nutrition today, let's zoom in on those nutritional ergogenic aids.
Okay.
What exactly are we talking about here?
So when we say nutritional ergogenic aids, we're talking mainly about dietary supplements. These are products that are, designed to add nutritional value to your diet.
Uh-huh.
Think protein powders, creatine, or even just, vitamin and mineral supplements.
So we're not talking about replacing meals with shakes and pills.
Exactly. It's not about replacing real food. It's really important to remember that food should always be the foundation of your nutrition plan.
Right. Okay, so these supplements, they can contain a wide range of ingredients. We've got vitamins, minerals, herbs, amino acids. How are these things regulated? Is there any kind of quality control to make sure that they're safe and that they actually do what they claim?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's actually where things can get a bit tricky. You see, unlike pharmaceuticals, dietary supplements don't require FDA approval before they need the market.
Really?
Yeah, manufacturers can introduce new ingredients by labeling them as self-affirmed GRAS, which stands for generally recognized as safe, but this process isn't, as strict as a full FDA approval.
So companies can basically just declare their own ingredients as safe?
Yeah, it's definitely, a point of debate and concern for a lot of people.
Yeah, I can see why.
However, there are some regulations.
Okay.
All dietary supplements are required to be labeled as such and must have a supplement facts panel listing all ingredients.
Okay.
They can make claims about health, nutrient content, or what's called structure or function.
Uh-huh.
But the FDA doesn't scrutinize these claims as closely as they would with, drug claims.
So there's a lot of room for some misleading marketing tactics.
Unfortunately, yes. I mean, you can imagine with all the competition in the supplement industry, some companies might be tempted to, stretch the truth a little bit.
Yeah, and then there's all those structure or function claims.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah.
about supporting this or enhancing that,
Yeah.
but never outright, promising a specific outcome.
Yeah.
It's clever marketing, but it could also be misleading.
Yeah, it definitely makes it hard for consumers to know what to believe.
Right. So with all this in mind, how can, athletes or just fitness enthusiasts, how can they make sure that they're making informed decisions about the supplements they choose? Where can they find reliable information that cuts through all of the marketing noise?
Well, there are some excellent resources available.
Okay.
Websites like consumerlab.com and Supplements Watch provide independent testing and reviews.
Oh, okay.
And then you have organizations like NSF International, USADA, the U.S. Pharmacopoeia,
Okay.
Informed Sport, NSF for Sport, the NCAA, the NIH Office of Dietary Supplements, and WADA.
Wow, that's a lot.
They all offer valuable evidence-based information.
So it sounds like there are entire organizations that are dedicated to keeping athletes informed and safe when it comes to supplements. Is this because of concerns about doping?
Well, yeah, doping is a major concern in the world of sports, and it refers to the use of prohibited substances or methods to, enhance performance, and it's strictly prohibited by most sporting bodies.
Right. I remember hearing about that cyclist who was stripped of his titles because of doping. It seems like the consequences can be pretty severe.
Absolutely, yeah, it's a serious issue. Doping not only undermines the integrity of the sport, but it poses serious health risks to athletes. And, the term doping itself actually has a pretty interesting history.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it comes from the Dutch word dope, which referred to a thick syrup that was used to enhance performance in horse racing way back in the day.
So this idea of, getting an unfair advantage in sport has been around for a while. It makes you wonder how widespread doping actually is in modern athletics.
Well, unfortunately, it's a problem of really epidemic proportions in sports. And it's not just elite athletes. Doping can occur at all levels of competition, and it's something that organizations like WADA, which is the World Anti-Doping Agency, and USADA, the US Anti-Doping Agency, are actively fighting against.
It's alarming to think that athletes might be unknowingly ingesting banned substances through contaminated supplements. That must be so frustrating for athletes who are trying to do things the right way.
Yeah, that's a big issue, and it's called inadvertent doping.
Okay.
And it occurs when athletes unwittingly consume banned substances, often through those contaminated supplements.
So how does a banned substance end up in a supplement that's supposed to be safe?
Well, sometimes athletes, they just aren't aware of all the banned substances
Right.
and all these complex chemical names, making it difficult to spot them on ingredient lists.
Uh-huh.
And in other cases, manufacturers might fail to list all the ingredients or their products could become contaminated during, the production process.
That's scary. So what are some of the common types of doping agents that athletes need to be aware of? What should they be on the lookout for?
Well, there are four main categories that we often see: anabolic agents, fat reducers, anticatabolics, and endurance enhancers or fatigue reducers.
Okay, so let's break those down one by one. What exactly do anabolic agents do?
So, anabolic agents, as the name kind of suggests, help the body build tissue, particularly muscle.
Okay.
So think of things like androstenedione, sometimes called andro, or beta-hydroxy beta-methylbutyrate, also known as HMB, ornithine, arginine, and clonidine. These are often misused by athletes looking to gain an edge, in strength and power sports.
Okay. And what about fat reducers? I imagine those are popular amongst athletes who are trying to, make weight or just maintain a lean physique.
You're right, yeah. Fat reducers work by decreasing appetite, increasing fat mobilization and utilization, and even blocking the absorption of dietary fats.
Oh, wow.
Some well-known examples include caffeine, L-carnitine, chitosan, and ephedrine.
Now, anticatabolics, those sound kind of less familiar. What's their role?
So anticatabolics work by decreasing the breakdown of body tissues, particularly muscle protein. They're kind of like bodyguards for your hard-earned muscle mass, trying to prevent that muscle loss during intense training.
Okay.
So think glutamine, branched-chain amino acids, leucine, and whey protein.
So it's all about preserving those gains. Okay, that makes sense. What about the endurance enhancers? I imagine those are pretty popular among marathon runners, cyclists, triathletes, all those endurance athletes.
Absolutely. Endurance enhancers or fatigue reducers, they work in a bunch of ways. They can improve blood flow, increase aerobic capacity, enhance mitochondrial function, increase the availability of energy nutrients, and they can even just decrease the perception of fatigue.
Wow, okay.
So some common examples would be beetroot, beta-alanine, sports beverages, and yes, you guessed it, caffeine again.
Caffeine seems to be a pretty versatile substance. It's popping up in several categories. But let's talk about, how different types of athletes use these nutritional ergogenics.
Okay.
What are some, typical examples?
Sure. So, endurance athletes often rely on a specific set of supplements to, fuel their long distance efforts. We see a lot of beetroot, beta alanine, and caffeine, along with, carbohydrates and things like energy bars and gels, glycerol, nitrates, quercetin, sodium, and electrolyte tablets, and of course, sports beverages.
So it's all about optimizing fuel and hydration for those long events.
Yeah.
Now, what about strength and power athletes? What supplements do they typically gravitate towards?
So strength and power athletes, they're all about maximizing muscle growth and strength gains.
Right.
So they often turn to supplements that support those goals. And that can include, controversial substances like anabolic steroids, which are often banned in competition, and more common supplements like beta-alanine, beta-hydroxy beta-methylbutyrate, caffeine again, chromium, creatine, casein protein, conjugated linoleic acid, growth hormone, medium-chain triglycerides, essential amino acids, and whey protein.
That is quite the list. And what about athletes in team sports? Do they have any unique supplement needs?
Well, team sport athletes often use a combination of supplements from both the endurance and the strength and power categories.
Okay.
It really depends on the specific demands of their sport. So, like, take basketball, for example.
Yeah.
Players need both explosive power, for jumping and sprinting, and sustained endurance to keep up with the fast pace of the game.
Right.
So their supplement regimen would reflect those diverse needs.
It's all incredibly complex. There's so much to consider when it comes to choosing the right supplements. It's easy to get lost in all the information out there.
Absolutely, yeah. The world of sports nutrition and supplementation is constantly evolving with new research emerging all the time.
Right.
It's a very dynamic field, so staying informed is key.
It sounds like separating fact from fiction is crucial. So how can athletes navigate this complex landscape and make decisions that, prioritize both their performance and their health?
That's a great question, and it's something that we'll delve into further in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, sounds good. I think that's a good place to pause for now. We've covered a lot of ground in this first segment. We explored the different types of ergogenic aids, the regulations surrounding supplements, the risks of doping, and even that potential for inadvertent contamination.
We've laid a solid foundation, and in the next part, we'll go into, specific supplements in more detail, examine the potential benefits and risks, and discuss, how athletes can really make informed decisions about their use.
Sounds good to me. We'll be back after a short break to continue our deep dive into the fascinating world of nutritional ergogenics.
It's important to remember that, the effectiveness and safety of these supplements can vary a lot.
Right.
I mean, what works great for one athlete might have, little to no effect on another.
Right.
Or even worse, it could have adverse effects.
Oh, wow.
So individual responses can depend on things like, genetics, training level, their diet, overall health status. It's complicated.
So it's not as simple as just like popping a pill and expecting instant results like those flashy ads often suggest?
No, definitely not a quick fix. It's about understanding your own body,
Yeah.
your specific needs, and making choices based on, solid evidence and ideally guidance from a qualified professional.
Right. So those resources that you mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
like consumerlab.com and those organizations dedicated to supplement safety, they become even more important for athletes who are considering using these products.
For sure. And I'd also highly recommend consulting with qualified professionals
Okay.
like sports nutritionists or registered dietitians.
Uh-huh.
They can help develop a personalized nutrition plan
Yeah.
that includes safe and effective supplementation strategies, if they're deemed necessary.
It's all about that holistic approach, isn't it?
Exactly.
Not just relying on supplements, but optimizing every aspect of your training and nutrition for the best results.
Precisely. Supplements should really be viewed as, complementary tools,
Right.
not magic bullets.
Right.
They can potentially enhance performance when used strategically as part of, a comprehensive training and nutrition plan.
Well said. Okay. So with all that in mind, let's zoom in on a few specific ergogenic aids
Okay.
that often generate a lot of buzz, especially among athletes.
Okay.
I'm particularly curious about creatine. It seems like everyone's talking about it these days.
Yeah, creatine is a really popular one, and for good reason.
Yeah.
It's a naturally occurring compound that's found in muscle cells, and it plays a crucial role in energy production during high-intensity exercise. So think about, those explosive movements,
Right.
like weightlifting or sprinting.
So it's like giving your muscles an extra boost of fuel for those short bursts of intense effort.
Exactly. And supplementing with creatine can actually increase your muscle creatine stores,
Okay.
which can then lead to improvements in strength, power, even, muscle mass gains.
Wow. Okay.
There's a ton of research on creatine, and it's generally considered safe when taken at, the recommended dosages.
Now, I have heard some rumblings about potential side effects, though. Is there anything that athletes should be aware of?
Well, like I said, it's generally safe,
Okay.
but some individuals might experience, side effects like
Okay.
gastrointestinal discomfort or muscle cramping.
Okay.
But it's also important to note that it's not a miracle worker.
Right.
It's not going to transform you into an elite athlete overnight.
So creatine, potentially beneficial for strength and power athletes? But
Right.
use it with caution and professional guidance.
Yep. Got it.
Okay, now what about caffeine?
Oh, caffeine.
It seems like a staple for a lot of athletes.
Right.
Whether it's a pre-workout coffee or an energy drink,
It's everywhere.
what's the science behind that?
So caffeine is a stimulant that works by, increasing alertness, focus, reducing perceived exertion.
Right.
It's almost like tricking your brain into thinking you're not working as hard as you actually are.
Okay.
And it's been shown to enhance fat metabolism
Oh, wow.
and even improve endurance performance.
So it's not just about feeling more energized.
Right.
It's actually having physiological effects that can really benefit athletes.
Exactly.
It makes me think of those long-distance runners who swear by their pre-race coffee.
Absolutely. It can help you train harder and longer, which can ultimately lead to improved results. But like any stimulant, there are potential downsides.
Like what? Is it just about being careful not to overdo it?
Yeah, I mean, consuming too much caffeine can lead to, anxiety, jitters, insomnia, gastrointestinal issues.
Right.
And timing is important too. You wouldn't want to be chugging coffee right before bed, for
Yeah,
example.
probably not.
It's best to avoid caffeine several hours before bedtime to ensure, a good night's sleep.
Right. So caffeine, a powerful ergogenic aid,
Yeah,
but use it strategically and in moderation.
exactly.
Makes sense. Now let's talk about protein supplements. It's everywhere these days.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Not just in gyms, but even in supermarkets.
Uh-huh.
Are they really necessary, or is it all just marketing hype?
Well, protein is absolutely essential for muscle growth and repair.
Right.
Athletes, especially those engaged in, intense training, often have higher protein needs than like sedentary individuals,
Okay.
and supplements can be a convenient way to help meet those needs.
So it's about ensuring adequate protein intake to support muscle recovery and growth after those tough workouts.
Exactly, exactly. And there are various types of protein supplements available, each with, their own unique properties and benefits.
Like what? Are there certain types of protein that are better than others?
Well, whey protein is a very popular choice
Okay.
because it's quickly absorbed and provides all the essential amino acids, making it, ideal for post-workout recovery.
Makes sense.
Now, casein protein, on the other hand, that's digested more slowly,
Okay.
and it might be more beneficial for like promoting satiety or, overnight muscle recovery.
That's really interesting. So choosing the right type of protein depends on individual needs and goals.
For sure. And, there are also plant-based protein powder
Right?
for those following a vegetarian or vegan diet.
Uh-huh.
So options like soy protein, pea protein, and brown rice protein offer excellent alternatives.
That's good to know. There really are so many options out there.
Oh, yeah.
It's important to remember that, whole food sources of protein like, lean meats, poultry, fish, beans, lentils,
Right.
those should still form the foundation of your diet, right?
Absolutely. Supplements are just that, supplements. They
Yeah.
should complement, not replace, a healthy and balanced eating plan. And not everyone even needs protein supplements.
Right.
If you're already meeting your protein needs through your diet,
Yeah.
additional supplementation might not be necessary.
Okay, so once again, it comes back to individual needs and goals. It's about taking that personalized and informed approach to nutrition and supplementation.
Exactly.
We've covered creatine, caffeine, and protein. Are there any other ergogenic aids that you think are worth discussing?
Yeah, there's one more that I think deserves attention,
Okay.
especially for endurance athletes.
Okay.
Beetroot.
Beetroot, like the root vegetable.
Yes, exactly.
Dig.
So beetroot is rich in nitrates,
Uh-huh.
and those nitrates are converted into nitric oxide in the body.
Okay.
And nitric oxide is a powerful vasodilator,
Okay.
meaning it helps relax and widen blood vessels,
Uh-huh.
which improves blood flow and oxygen delivery to the muscles.
So it's like a natural way to enhance circulation and boost endurance?
Precisely.
Wow.
And studies have actually shown that beetroot supplementation can improve time trial performance
Really?
in cyclists and runners,
Wow.
and even enhance exercise efficiency. So it's becoming a popular choice for athletes looking for a natural edge.
Beetroot, a natural performance enhancer with potential benefits for endurance athletes.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to add that to my grocery list.
It's definitely worth exploring. But, as always, do your research, consider your individual needs and goals.
It sounds like we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From the basics of ergogenic aids to the nuances of specific supplements.
Yep.
Creatine, caffeine, protein, and now even beetroot. It's clear that this is a really complex and constantly evolving field.
It is. We've certainly touched on many key aspects of this topic, but as always, there's always more to learn.
That's for sure. So before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, are there any key takeaways that you'd like to emphasize for our listeners?
Well, I think the most important takeaway is that knowledge is power.
Right.
The more you understand about these supplements, the better equipped you'll be to make informed decisions about your own training and supplementation strategies. Don't rely on hearsay or flashy marketing claims.
Right.
Do your research, consult with qualified professionals, and make choices that align with your individual needs and goals.
I think it's also important to remember that supplements are just one piece of the performance puzzle.
Right.
They can't replace hard work, dedication, and proper training.
Absolutely, yeah. There's no magic pill for athletic success.
Right.
It's about a holistic approach
Yeah.
that encompasses training, nutrition, recovery, and mental focus.
Right. You can't just expect to pop a supplement and become an elite athlete overnight. It takes a lot more than that.
Exactly. Supplements might offer a slight edge when used strategically, but they can't replace the fundamentals.
Well, I think this has been a really insightful exploration of some popular nutritional ergogenics, but we're not done yet.
That's right. There's still so much more to discuss, including the ethical considerations surrounding supplement use
Right.
and how to navigate this ever-evolving landscape of sports nutrition.
Okay, I'm definitely interested to hear more about that. So we'll be back after a short break to continue our deep dive into the world of nutritional ergogenics
That's good.
and explore some of the broader implications of supplement use. We've talked about, the potential benefits and risks of these various ergogenic aids,
Right.
but I'm curious about this idea of combining different supplements.
Yeah.
Is there any validity to that?
Yeah, that's a really interesting area. Some athletes and researchers believe that certain combinations might actually be more effective than taking supplements individually.
Like a synergistic effect.
Exactly. Yeah, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Right.
For example, some studies have shown that combining creatine with carbohydrates
Okay.
can actually enhance creatine uptake by the muscles.
So it's like giving the creatine a little boost?
Yeah, kind of like helping it get where it needs to go more efficiently.
Right, right.
And there's also research exploring the potential synergy between like caffeine and beta-alanine
Okay.
for improving endurance performance.
That makes me think of those pre-workout formulas that combine multiple ingredients. Are those combinations backed by science, or is it mostly marketing hype?
Well, it can be really tricky to determine,
Yeah.
while some combinations might have, some scientific backing,
Uh-huh.
others might not be as well researched
Oh, no.
or, could even have negative interactions.
Oh, wow.
So it's really crucial to be cautious and consult with, a healthcare professional before experimenting with any supplement combinations.
That's good advice. It's easy to get carried away with all the options out there.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a wild west out there. It's always best to err on the side of caution, especially when it comes to, your health.
Right. And speaking of caution, it's probably worth reiterating that individual responses to supplements can vary widely.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What works for one athlete might not work for another.
Exactly. Yeah. Genetics, training status, diet, overall health, all these factors can influence, how your body responds to a particular supplement.
Right.
It's definitely not a one-size-fits-all situation.
So it's not as simple as just copying what your favorite athlete is doing.
No, not at all. It's about, finding what works best for you
Yeah.
through a process of, trial and error, ideally under the guidance of a qualified professional.
Well, this has been a really insightful deep dive into the world of nutritional ergogenics. I mean, we've explored the science behind these supplements, discussed the potential benefits and risks, and even delved into, the complexities of supplement regulation and marketing.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground, but it's really just a glimpse into this, fascinating and ever-evolving field.
The key takeaway, I think, for our listeners is that knowledge is power. The more you understand about these supplements, the better equipped you'll be to make those informed decisions about your own training and supplementation strategies.
Couldn't agree more. It's all about becoming a savvy consumer, separating fact from fiction, and prioritizing your health and well-being above all else.
And, remember, supplements are just one piece of the performance puzzle.
Right.
They can't replace hard work, dedication, and a well-rounded approach to training and nutrition.
That's right. There's no shortcut to success in sports.
Right.
It takes that holistic approach and a commitment to excellence.
Well, on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive.
We have.
Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of nutritional ergogenics.
It's been my pleasure.
Remember to stay informed, stay curious, and always prioritize your health. Until next time, happy training.